Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode of Still That Girl series. I am your host, Jory Martin. Today we have with me a young woman and also one of my closest friends, and she's going to talk about her experience of being a teen mom. Help me welcome Walda.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so before we jump right into it, I'm going to start off with an icebreaker. So you're going to take a question from a jar and hand it to me, and I'm going to read it to you. Okay? Choose a very good one.
I'll try my best.
There you go. Okay. So it says, what is a home project, craft, or hobby that you tried that didn't go so well?
Oh, my goodness. Lord, that's a tough one. I don't know.
Or was something that you tried, a DIY project that didn't work or didn't go so well?
Well, I am not so handy, so I can't think of anything right now that I tried that didn't really work out.
Okay. So you're saying you're good at everything you do.
Basically.
What was a recipe that you tried that didn't come out too good?
Oh, that one is easy. Baking cake.
Okay. So we know not what not to make you.
I'm good now.
Okay.
But that's just the beginning of all things.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna dive right in. So Walda, I know you, but a lot of our viewers don't know you. So can you just explain your childhood growing up and what your household was like? Did you grow up in a Christian household? What was it like?
Well, I grew up in a Christian home. My both parents, mother and father, they're Christians. So you know what that is like.
Mm-hmm.
Have to go to church every Sunday, every Friday for youth meeting. I was involved in church camps. Any Bible activity, that was me. That's the life I had to live. So, my parents instilled certain values in me, and it was expected of me to follow these values throughout. I was very active in church growing up, but that's my story.
Okay, and would you say that you had strict parents? Did they allow you to go out, maybe visit other friends' homes and stuff like that?
Well, my parents are fairly easygoing, especially my dad. He had no problem. He trusts me. I can do not anything I want, but once it's supervised properly, there's not a problem.
So that meant that you had a really good relationship with your parents, or were they easy to talk to?
My mom and I, not so close, but my dad, yes.
Okay, so you're dad's girl. Daddy's
Yes,
girl.
I'm a daddy's girl. Everybody knows this.
Okay, so you said that you're a dad's girl. Especially as a female, how do you think that affected your relationship growing up, or just you as a person not being so close with your mom or to your mom?
Okay, it was a bit difficult for me, especially as a young woman growing up, because you need to know certain values, what to expect as a young woman, what is right from wrong, especially falling in love, getting the different heartbreaks, and have mommy to talk to about those sort of stuff. I'm a daddy's girl, and my dad used to joke around and say, I'm the son he never had. So we would talk about a lot of other stuff, but on a girl basis, I guess he wouldn't know exactly what to tell me, to guide me along that path properly. But he really tried his best. I guess my mom was a bit too shy, or maybe
Too reserved?
Too reserved. She didn't know how to explain or talk to me about those kind of personal relationship kind of vibes.
Okay, so did you have any female influences around, any aunt, maybe a friend that you confided in, somebody who was older or could have been a role model to you?
Well, yes, I have an aunt. I call her my second mommy. Up to this day, she's my mom. Any problem I have, any advice I'm looking for, she's my go-to person.
Okay. And I know a lot of us, especially in the Caribbean, I think that is something that is popular. A lot of parents, mothers specifically, are scared to talk to their parents, to their children about certain topics, or they sugarcoat things. Do you think this was a problem? And if yes, what advice would you give to young people who are struggling with this?
Okay. For me, I know what it was like not having that personal touch from my mother to speak to me about these things. And I think with that experience in our lives, we know how we felt inside. And I think it's supposed to be easier for us when we have our children. We can explain because we know we wanted somebody there for us that we felt comfortable talking to, instead of trying to go out there and experience out there in life and maybe learn the wrong values. You understand? So it's better for us just, how to put this, know what you wanted for yourself and try and be that person for maybe a sister, another friend, or your own child.
Okay, so fast forward a little bit. When and how did you find out that you were pregnant?
How did I find out I was pregnant? I was in my final year of high school. That year was a year to go all out. I was a part of cheerleading, all of that good stuff. We had our sports meet, and I was just enjoying life. My dad was the one that noticed bodily changes I wasn't aware of. I had a few mornings where I was not too well going to school, and he was the one that suggested, let's go to the doctor, let's find out what's going on. He didn't tell me off the bat that I think you're pregnant. But I guess he didn't want to scare me, but it was his decision. Let's go to the doctor.
And that's an awesome dad. So even before you got the opportunity to tell him, he already knew.
He already knew. So that was a breather.
I bet. So after your dad, who would you say was the first person you told? Was it your aunt or was it your mom?
It was definitely my aunt. My aunt was the one who told my mom. Well, she didn't come right out and say it to her. She told me it had to come from me. So she had a little inside meeting at home with her, tried to soften the situation, and that was that for me. That's what I said. My aunt, she's my rock.
So how was it? What were their reactions? How was it facing them to tell them that news?
Well, my mom, I could see in her face she was very disappointed. My dad too, because he expected more from me. But he wasn't the type to show it. But he was very supportive. He let me know that these things happen and he's there to support me no matter what the situation is. And I had a problem with the person that I was involved with at the time. He wasn't willing for the situation at hand.
So he wasn't supportive?
He wasn't supportive. He thought that maybe because I was young and I had my whole life ahead of me, maybe I won't go through the pregnancy, and I guess he was more hoping that I won't go through the pregnancy. But that's not what I did.
So what made you want to keep the baby?
Growing up in church, as I said, I knew the values. And you always hear children are blessings. And I know for a fact there was a reason God put that baby inside of me at that time. I didn't understand it fully, but there was a reason and a purpose behind of it. And now that I'm older and I watch my beautiful daughter grow, I know for a fact she was placed into my life for a reason.
That's beautiful. Okay, so I know you talk about your dad a lot and you had a huge support system from him and from your aunt. But what could you tell us was the hardest part of everything, from the moment you found out you were pregnant, being in your senior year, taking your final examination? What do you think was the hardest part of it all?
For me, it was to focus on what lie ahead.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, I was in my final year. I had a lot of studying to do, and trust me, I wasn't in the mood to fail. I had to get things done, especially if I wanted a bright future for myself and for the child that I was about to bring into this world. It was hard because I know, even to church, going to church, I stopped going to church. I didn't know what to expect from everyone at church. As I told you, I was very active in church. I didn't want a lot of people to look down on me. And I know there were a lot of young people, and I didn't want to be like I'm a bad influence into their life. So I kind of stepped back, and for my mom's peace of mind as well, because I know she was very disappointed. And we both went to the same church, and I just didn't want that constant flaw in her face. So I didn't go. I started to go to another church. I felt welcome there. Everybody was welcoming. They told me, you can do this. You can do this. And even my friends, like you guys, I didn't talk a lot about my experience because I was ashamed in a sense, but it was a lot. It was a lot. Emotionally, it was a lot. I'm a young woman. I didn't have my mother to talk to, especially going through that experience. I felt alone. And it's not like every day I could go by my aunt, because I'm still young. Not like I'm driving, I can pick up and go, hey aunt, I'm feeling frustrated. So I had a lot to deal with by myself. And especially because the father at the time, he was not involved. He left me hanging. And a lot of this happened to a lot of teens. And a lot of women in reality. There are a lot of deadbeats father out there, we know. It's hard. It's hard. And if you don't have a proper support system, it weighs down a lot on you. But I just had to block out all the negative thoughts and know what I had to do, and I tried my best to get it done.
Okay, so I know you kind of touched on some of the things that you were faced with, but can we go down a little bit deeper? Like, as a teen, you know, you have to be up late studying, you have to be juggling extracurricular activities. How was this? How are you able to juggle everything and still keep your social life, still have, keep in contact with friends, still keep your social life? How was it?
Social life at that point in my life, it wasn't a thing. As I said, I was in my final year. I was mostly preparing for my exam, at the same time trying to have a healthy baby. This was a lot of stress on my body, and I found that certain times I got really ill as well. I was trying to do it all, and as a young person, it was too much. And I know my father looked for the very best in me, and I guess I tried to be that person he wanted me to be, despite the fact that I was having a child. I wrote my examinations. I passed. I remember for one exam in particular, my favorite subject, I was obsessed with the pregnancy.
Which was?
It was geography.
Okay.
I had morning sickness so bad the morning. I couldn't stay focused. I ended up leaving the examination room. My teacher had to ask me, is the baby coming? What's going on? I'm like, no, the baby's not coming. It's still a bit too early. But he was very supportive. He's like, it's okay. It is okay. You tried your best. And he was very encouraging. As my teacher, he was very encouraging. But I was very sad about it. And I know I had to rewrite that particular subject the following year. When I had to rewrite that same subject, I was sick with the following year. That was my year off from school. I just had my baby at the time, and I was still trying to focus on getting my career path together. I did my subject, I took my year off, and I was wondering, should I start working now that I'm a mom, I have to provide for this child that I brought into the world, or am I going to continue school? I didn't see myself stopping there at high school. That was no way. That was out of the question. I had to get things done. I took my year off, tried to gather my thoughts, spend a year with my baby, and I went to college. It was hard, especially not working. I had to ask my parents for funding because, as I told you, the child's father wasn't in my life. He wasn't supportive, and it was a lot to say, hey, mom, I want to go to school. And I have this child. Hey, mom, you still have to take care of my baby. It is unfair to them. So it was hard for me to ask. It was hard for me to ask for the financial support. But they did. They did. They supported me. After college, I went on. I applied for university. I started university. It is not easy, especially as a young mother. It is not easy. I mean, these things happen, and we shouldn't condemn young folks coming up. Well, it happened. It just happened. I'm not encouraging them, not saying it is right, but it's happened. Try your best to protect yourself. You protect yourself. But in my life, I know that happened to me for a reason. After I had my daughter, a year after, I got ill, and that's a whole other part of my life, right?
Part 2.
Yes, part 2 will come with that.
We know that there's a huge stigma attached to teenage pregnancies. Can you talk about your experience and how did you overcome it?
Okay, for me, I mostly blocked out a lot of people because people have this thing that they think words don't harm you. They always say, oh, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can't harm you. But trust me, they are harmful. And let me tell you, if you know somebody that is going through that experience, you don't want to throw certain things at them because not everybody's the same. My mental structure is totally different. I blocked out everyone. I stopped going to church, as I mentioned, because I didn't wait for them to condemn me at that point. I decided, hey, I'm not going to go back to this place. And I went to another church. I'm not saying that was the best decision at the time, but that's what I felt like I needed to do. And there and then I had to think about what I wanted for my life at that time. I had to think, okay, where do I go from here? Am I going to finish school? Am I going to drop out of school? What do I want for my life and the child I was about to bring?
Okay, so if you could go back in time, back to that girl, back to that day that you found out you were pregnant, what advice would you give yourself?
If I could go back to my younger self right now, I would encourage myself that, hey, it is okay. It is okay. You hear a lot of people, especially Christians, when they come and they say, God is in control, God knows what he's doing, and nothing happens before it's time. And trust me, that is something to believe in. It is something to hold on to. At the time, you may be heartbroken, flustered with what next. But I learned throughout the years to just make God take control, make him take the wheel, because he knows what he's doing in your life. At that point in time, you may not see it, but he knows. Trust me, God knows. And I know it all happened for a reason. It changed around my life so much. You may not know at the time, for that individual at the time, they might be broken. You don't know what they're going through. And that's why it's so important for persons around you to encourage them. Just encourage them. You don't know what they're going through. Have a conversation with them, get into their life, and be genuine about it. Because you know when persons are genuine with you and they talk about you behind your back, oh, can you imagine she got pregnant at such a young age? And it's not healthy. You don't know. Everybody don't have a strong will. Don't condemn these young folks. But God had a purpose for me in my life. You will see it in part 2. And I will expand more on after when I had my daughter and what all I've been through, what happened next. But trust me, it's hard. But I would just tell myself, just wait, and God will see things.
And now you have your beautiful baby girl.
Yes,
and I sure you wouldn't trade her for the world.
Not today. No.
I bet now you're out the picture now, and she is grandfather's girl.
Yes.
So you made me place.
Yes, I was.
Okay, so before we wrap up, what is one piece of advice would you give to teen moms out there, those who are even in school right now and who are pregnant or who think that this is it for them? They don't have a second chance. What piece of advice would you give to these young women?
You know that you want the best for your child. It is not right, and it is going to be selfish of you if you're going to give up your life just because you got pregnant. And never dare you condemn that child when the child comes into the world. Say, oh, it's because of you I couldn't further my studies, I couldn't get the public job that I wanted. No, it's not that child's fault. You know what you did and you put yourself in that position. It's for you now to push and go ahead. Continue your dream. Whatever dream you had, even if it was becoming a pilot, still go after your dream. Because in the end, it is what's going to help your child. The child is going to say, okay, mommy did this thing, and she pulled herself back up. Be the strength for your child. Make your child be that, hey, for me, my daughter is my rock. Every time I feel like I'm going to crumble, I look at her and I remember she is the reason why I'm doing this. Let your child be the reason why you're doing it. And let God be a part of your life. As I told you, for him to be the center of it all, you will make it. Just trust in him. If you don't know what it feels like to have a relationship with him, just go on your knees and talk to him like you're talking to your best friend. And he will hear you. Trust me. I wasn't a spiritual teen or anything, but I just felt like I could talk to him, and he answered me. And throughout my life, I realized I'm grown now, and I try to have a conversation with him all the time. Trust me, he is here and I feel his presence all the time. Just continue to trust in God and believe in yourself. No children are a blessing, and that child is put into your life for a reason. And if you're a teen and you're out there having sex, I'm going to tell you, protect yourself. Sex is not going to run away. It is not going out of style. All your friends may talk about it, but trust me. And when you get older, it becomes sweeter with marriage. So just hold on. It is not going anywhere.
That was definitely a mouthful, but I know you would truly inspire some people out there, some teens, some young women. You would definitely inspire them. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to be here with me and sharing personal size aspect of your life with us. I know that wasn't easy, so I appreciate you. So thank you so much for watching another episode of Still That Girl. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget that you are still that girl. I am still that girl.
If I had to go back, sorry.
No, go ahead. Remember one important thing that old people just say, Picnina send call you. So, get your act together. So if you choose a question from the jar, hand it to me and I'll read it to you.
Do you have an inspirational story to share? Would you like to be featured on our next episode? If so, please contact us using the information displayed on the screen. If you'd prefer to tell your personal story anonymously, please complete the form by clicking the link provided in our bio.